Hey guys, so here's me on a group ride, and there's GTs and pints, and of course, the star of the show was the Funwheel X7. But this video is not about the X7, it's for those of you who are waiting to get your hands on the GTFO kit to VESC your existing GT. And this video is specifically about the LEDs that I've personally been working on for like a year. And these are the LEDs that you see in this clip with me riding my GTFO board. And here's my friend with his GT comparing
Yeah, I
the
think that's very
LEDs.
bright.
And these are the LEDs on the Funwheel GTFO board. I think the GTFO LEDs are the brightest LEDs in the market right now. And I want to show you some nerdy stuff and show you how we got here and the work we did and what is included in the kit. Oh, one more thing I forgot to mention is that in spite of being brighter than the GT lights, they still retain their RGB characteristics, which mean they can be individually addressed and the colors can be changed. You can use all the good stuff in the VESC LEDs, just like the normal Funwheel
So I've
LEDs.
got this nice FLIR thermal camera with me. So first of all, let's look at what we get in the kit, right? So when you get the LED kit, you're gonna get a small box with three things, right? So the LED kit will have the front LED, along with the heat sinks that we'll talk about in a while and why they're shaped so funnily. And it'll have a rear LED that will be ready to just go in, and it will have a status LED, which is this guy here, and it'll have the two wires already connected to it. So one goes to the switch, the other goes to the status. Front, this one is the front. Again, this is not a tutorial. There'll be a separate step-by-step tutorial, but this is just to show you what you will get, actions you need to make to get it working. This is the GT LED, the original one that we took out. So you take off this bolt and this holder, and you take out the original GT LED and you put in our LED. And the original LED seems to be very well made. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4 super bright LEDs, and the others are just, I think, RGBW LEDs. And then of course they've got all these little vias to sink heat to the back. But this is an FR4 PCB. It's not a metal PCB, which is basically all the other LEDs in the market except for ours. So if you put it here, it does a good job. It is really bright, maybe one of the brightest in the market at the moment. But again, FR4 has its limits, right? Once you go above a certain percentage, you can only sink so much heat from the back. But also, the heat has nowhere else to go. It's a closed box, right? So that's why it can't be any more brighter than this. And increasing heat or light on this has diminishing returns, right? So the amount of extra light you get compared to the amount of heat you get is extremely low. So it's not worth increasing the brightness because the heat will just increase almost exponentially. So when we created the first front LEDs, it was an FR4 PCB because it makes sense. It's cheaper to make, easier to make, and if it's bright enough, then why not? But we wanted something brighter. Actually, our goal was to have the brightest LEDs on a GT or on any board, right? Now, that's very hard to do in a one wheel because it's a closed enclosure, right? If you have an e-bike or a motorbike or something like that, you can just put a big light with a big heatsink and put it in front and then run a wire through it to the controller. And it's easy to make it as bright as possible because you just increase the heatsink on which the LED is mounted on. Here, unfortunately, even if you get a big heatsink, it's just gonna be inside the box. So we had to think of a way to dissipate the heat from the LED and bring it outside the box. We did this. We made the IMS PCB. As you can see, this is a metal PCB, just like the Thor, right? And it's extremely difficult to design a metal PCB on a complex LED system like this, because you cannot use two layers. You can use only one single layer on the top, which means all the wires have to be routed on the first top layer, right? In an FR4 PCB like that, you can see there's a couple of routings going on at the back, right? You see those straight lines. So what the designers do is they go down on the second layer from a via, and then go this way, and then go up the layer, and then come out the other way, right? So it's very easy to design these. But these, you can't do that because this is aluminum, this is metal. You can't have any vias on the bottom. So that's why we had to route it all over the place. And then we had to make it super bright, and we had to make it 12 volt. And it was just impossible. It was almost impossible to do, but we managed to pull it off, right? But once we did that, we had a problem that, you know, even though it's an IMS PCB, that means it can quickly take the heat from the LED and pass it on to the metal at the back, but the heat had nowhere else to go. So let's have a look at it. I'm going to switch on my GTFO, right? And then you can see this is absolutely nuts. So I'm going to take off these front LEDs, and I'm going to bring just the front LED and without any heatsink. And I'm going to show you what the problem was when we initially designed these LEDs. So we designed these LEDs super bright, almost blinding, right? But the problem was that, let me put it down. So let's look at the heat map of the controller first. This is the Thor. So the red little dot with the bullseye shows the hottest point. You can see the hottest point is the Thor's inductor, which is at 50 degrees Celsius, which is pretty cool. Let's look at this LED here. Hottest point is around, you can see here, 50C or 52C. And you can see it's rising so rapidly. Now it's 75, so it's still rising. Extremely hot. Now, these LEDs are rated to work up to 120, 130 Celsius, right? But that does not mean you keep them running at very close to their limit. Yeah, now it's at ATC, and then that's where it kind of tapers off, right? That's where it reaches its maximum temperature. So point is, it does get really, really hot, and it's almost impossible to touch it. So we had to do something about it. So the idea was to do what we did on the Funwheel box, to somehow get the heat from these LEDs in the front to the handle at the back, so that it can dissipate the heat all the way across this entire box, because this handle is basically part of the box. And that way the LEDs see an infinite heat sink connected to it, because the LED is what, 5 by 5 millimeters, and the box is like infinitely large compared to the size of an LED. And also the box at some places is connected to the atmosphere. It's exposed to the atmosphere, so that will help exchange the heat from the box to the atmosphere, right? But how do we do that? That was a question. So a lot of trial and error. And we, 3D printed these wedges of different sizes, because the handle here is really very strangely shaped. It's like round. It is not a flat thing. So shout out here to my boy Quinn. Quinn is an extremely talented individual. Told him, hey Quinn, we need to do some wedges in here. What do you think? So trial and error, we got these things done, and then we thought, what's the best way to do it? Finally, this is a wedge that we settled with. So there's two wedges, one here and one here. And in between them, we have a thermal compound, which is this. So made in US, Ultramax conductive thermal compound, so that we could conduct maximum heat, right? So when these are connected to the LEDs, they look like this. So this is a thermal compound, and it connects to the LEDs here, so that the maximum heat can be transferred to the wedges and to the handle of the box. And so that was the geeky thing that I wanted to talk to you about, and I hope that was interesting. So question is, how well does it work, or does it work at all? the way you will receive your LEDs in your LED kit would be the heat sinks or the wedges all screwed in, bolted in together with Loctite and with a lot of the thermal compound, and you will receive a small syringe like this so that you can put the thermal compound here before you can install it here. So basically just take this bolt out, put the thermal compound here, put this LED in, and then plug this in here, right? Again, this is not a tutorial, but it's really, really simple to do. So we've got this at maximum brightness, right? And it's been on for about half a minute, right? In half a minute, without a heatsink, we would reach about 50 to 60 degrees Celsius by this time. We've got the wedges, which are the heat sinks, to be the hottest point, which makes sense, which also means the heat is being transferred amazingly from the LEDs to the wedges. But you can see the hottest point here is only 35 degrees Celsius or 36 degrees Celsius now. So they're basically chilling, right? And going up very slowly. Like you can see 36.2, 36.9, 36.2, 36.8. So rising very slowly. If you look at the back of the LED, right, that should be the hottest point. Just look at this, the back of the PCB. There we go. You can see the hottest point is only 37 Celsius. And I'm really, really happy how this turned out. I can touch the LEDs without, burning my thumb. And I just can't wait for you guys to try it out. So big shout out to Mario from the Board Garage, who we sent an earlier version of the kit, and he told us all the points of contention, all the points that he didn't like and could be improved. So we made this one a truly plug and play thing now, where you can just plug in the LED here, the status LED here, and switch here, switch from the Thor here, the LEDs from the back here, and basically replace the back LEDs with this one, our LEDs, and the same plug plugs in. No soldering, nothing to do, just 1, 2, 3 plugs on the Thor, 1, 2, 3 plugs here. And we've changed our philosophy on how we sell stuff now. So instead of getting volume, we focus on very low volume but high quality stuff. So we will just have a couple of kits beginning of every month, and they would ship directly from our garage down here. Thanks for watching this video. There is a tutorial in the works that will be out soon. So thank you very much. Keep fungineering, and I'll see you next time.